Hi, this is Scott Marshman with eCabinets Tips and Tricks. This is part 6 on how to create a dynamic octagon column. In the last video, I showed you how to make the base molding and create a cutter for it. In this video, I'm going to show you how you could do the same thing with the crown. Now, it's a little bit different, so be sure to stay tuned and see how I done it. For the crown molding, I used a stretcher just like I did for the base molding. Now, if you haven't seen my video on how to make the base molding for this column, be sure to check out part 4 of this series. What I done was I made a 2 and 13 32nd thick sheet stock and created a stretcher, applied my offsets, took it into part editor, created my geometry for the octagon, and constrained that. Now the way I came up with these measurements was I picked out a molding that I wanted to put on this column, and I got my measurements from that. And this is that piece of molding. And as you can see, I have my frame visible here, and that allows me to get a good visual on what I need to measure. So if I use my measuring tool and I click on this corner here, and then this corner here, it says it's 2 3/8. So that's my offsets from the side, front, and what have you to the edge of what's going to be the crown molding. And the height is from this corner to this corner, which is 2 and 13 32nds. Now, in order to get this same profile on the stretcher here, I need to create a cutter. And the way I went about doing that was I took the molding here into the line drawing editor and created a JPG image of that molding. If you haven't checked out my video on how to go about doing that, check out part 5 of this series. I go into all the details on how to get the JPG image and then take it into SketchUp. And here I have my image in SketchUp. What I done next was I used my line tool and my arc tool to trace out the geometry on this image. And here's the trace out here in red. Now if I zoom in, you can see that it is real close. I mean, there's some detail that I didn't add, but all in all, this is real close to what I want. Now after I got done tracing out my geometry there, I made a copy of that. And here is the copy. And what I've done after that was I changed the number of segments of my arcs to 2. So that when I take it into eCabinets, I can just connect these points and make a true arc instead of leaving a bunch of line segments in my molding. Now I need to scale this thing. Now I need to scale it exactly how it is in eCabinets. In other words, 2 and 13 16ths in the green direction, or 2 and 13 32nds in the green direction, and 2 and 3/8 in the red direction. Now I have a scale tool called Fredo Scale that works real well, but you don't have to use that if you don't have that plug-in. You can use your native scale tool. I'll click on my native scale tool and I click on my group here. I can go in the red and green direction by just clicking on it and start to scale down. And if I come down here, I can type in the measurements I want. So I want to type in 2 and 3/8 and put my inch symbol and then comma 2 and 13 32nds and my inch symbol and hit enter. And there it is, scaled down to 2 and 3/8 by 2 and 13 32nds. 2 and 3/8, 2 and 13 32nds. Now I need to move this into the 0, 0 location, and I need to go ahead and set my plunge for this cutter. I'm going to click on this top corner, and I'm going to go in the green direction and lock it right there. Now our plunge is preset, and now what I need to do is move it over to preset our offset, so that when we bring it up in the part editor or the shape manager to create our cutter, everything is already set up for us. What I want to do now is create a cutter to make this shape, and I want to do it all in one shot. In other words, I don't want to have a cutter to cut this profile and a cutter to cut this profile. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my guide tool here, and I'm going to put some guides on here. I'm going to move this over 1/8 inch, and I'm going to do the same thing at the top here. And the bottom. And I need one more guide right there. And let's go ahead and put one right there. So what I need to do now is I can go ahead and edit this group and delete this line right here. I'm going to use my pencil tool and my line tool, and I'm just going to create a closed contour for our cutter. And there that is. If I delete the guides, you can see the shape that it's going to make after we get our arcs redrawn in the shape manager. So this is basically the cutter that I'm going to use. Now I need to export this geometry as a DXF file. So I'm going to use my plugin. Under my tools menu here, I've got a plugin called Export DXF STL. I don't have it selected, so I'm going to click cancel, select it again. I'll make sure it's selected and export DXF STL, and inches and lines, and OK. Now I'm just going to save this to my desktop here. Now I need to return to eCabinets and go into the shape manager to create my cutter here. So I'm going to load that file I just saved to my desktop, and if I scroll down here I can find it, octagon crown cutter temp, and open that file. And here's the cutter. Now the only thing I need to do is connect these lines and make our true arc here. I'll use my 3-point arc and connect this line, or this point to that point, and that one to that one. Use my eraser tool and delete single. My home key to zoom back out. Now you notice there's two straight lines here. I need to make sure that I start on this line right here. So I'm going to use my 3-point arc again, and if I hover over that line, you'll see it turn red. So I'm going to click there, and there, and there, and delete my single lines. Now I do have object snap turned on, and what that allows me to do is snap to the objects. I can, as long as it's in the pit box, it'll snap to that geometry or to that object. Now I need to do this arc right here, so I'm going to do 3-point arc again, and I'm going to snap from here to here to here, and I can delete single and get rid of those. Undo that, delete that one. If I hit my escape key or click on this arrow, it will get me out of my eraser tool. And I'll go home. Now we have our cutter. The only thing we need to do now is create the cutter. So I'm going to click on this icon right here, and it says select close contour to create the tool. So I'm going to click on my close contour and click next. Now I'm going to set a diameter, which is 2 3/8. Now that 2 3/8, that diameter, when you set a diameter in here, it needs to be the small diameter. In other words, not from here to here, but from here to here, 2 3/8. So I'm going to click OK. And now I need to save it. I'm going to save it on my desktop, just for convenience, and close. And Now we have our cutter. What I need to do now is take the stretcher here that we made and into the part editor and apply the profile. So I highlighted the stretcher. I'm going to go into part editor, and we're in part editor now, but there is one thing. Let me go back to main. If you saw part 5 of this series, I need to know which side is going to be facing up when I go into part editor. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to go into the edit material A side, and I'm going to click on my part here, and as you can see, just like the base molding, the green side is going to be up, so the underneath side of this stretcher here is going to be facing up. So I'm going to need to go to the back view to create this geometry. So I'm going to click on my part again, and I'm going to go into part editor, and I'm going to go to the back view, and I'm going to do a full chain. So I'm going to click on my profile icon here, and I got chain selected, and I'm going to click right here. I'm going to go next, and I'm going to go into my desktop and find my crown tool cutter. I'm going to click view. Everything's plunged, everything's offset. I'm going to click OK. So now if I go back to main, keep the changes, you see the crown is on the column there. So let's see just how close we were on creating this molding. And that looks real good. I mean, that is all but perfect. So now I can just delete that and go back home and save my column to my library. And now you have a octagon column that you can resize to whatever height, width, and depth you want. So let's see what happens when we do resize it. I'm going to change the width to 24 and the depth to 24. Now these need to be equal, and I'm going to set the height to, I don't know, let's go 18 and hit enter. So there that is resized. So you can use this for a lot of different stuff. If you don't want to use the crown molding and or the base molding, you can simply click on that and right click and create a phantom part. You click on the stretcher there, you see it highlight green, and you change it to a phantom part, and now it will not show up in custom layout. You can do the same thing to the base molding. So you can use this for a lot of different stuff without having to redraw all the geometry. So I hope this video helped. If it did, give me a thumbs up, and please subscribe to my channel so you can get all the latest tips and tricks. Thank you for watching, and have a good day.